happy to be with you today to share some information about the latest updates to the 2022 editions of AISC 360, the main specification, as well as AISC 341, the seismic provisions. And we'll also have a few slides at the very end on AISC 358, which is the pre-qualification standard for moment connections on special moment frames. So I want to recognize two AISC staff members, Nate Goner and Mike Gannon, who also helped prepare the presentation. They are Nate is the secretary to the AISC Committee on Specifications, and Mike is the secretary of the seismic task committees of the AISC on seismic design. So anyway, thank you to them for helping out putting together the slides today. All right, so we'll jump right into it. So first, as far as the overview goes on 360, we'll talk about how the spec is developed, a little bit on the kind of the organizational issues, go through the table of contents, and then just quickly review the changes to the documents to the document that was made in the 22 edition. So the Committee on Specifications that I am honored to chair has 45 members, and then under that group there's 12 task committees, and so there's about probably around 130 to 40 people probably participating on all those task committees, and this committee is responsible for approving AISC 360, 341, N690, which is the nuclear specification, as well as AISC 342, which is a new standard on seismic evaluation and retrofit that's now become part of ASCE 41-23. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So we follow ANSI standards to accredit, to make sure that the procedures are acceptable for developing national standards, because these documents are adopted into ASCE and eventually into the building code. Okay, so the mission statement of the spec committee is, you can see here, and in yellow are the new words that we brought in. So we really want to talk about a practice-oriented specification for design, fabrication, erection of steel buildings. We've been thinking about life safety, economical systems, and predictable behavior and response, efficient use, but added durability. So, sustainability issues, those sorts of things. And then if you've been following any of AISC's initiatives over the last few years, you'll know that speed of delivery is important. I think they call it the need for speed, and they have many research projects and things going on trying to come up with ways to facilitate more rapid delivery of projects that are done with structural steel. So that's the mission statement for the committee, and really feel like the practice-oriented part is very important. And other nations, and like the Euro codes, are very much driven by researchers, whereas in the U.S. it's much more driven by practicing engineers as well as researchers and the erection and fabrication industry. Okay, so those standards, again, I just mentioned those. So this 360 is the main specification. You can see there's balanced membership on the overall committee between industry, consultants, and general interest. The general interest folks are typically the research community folks, and then industry. Each have 15 members on the Committee on Specifications, making it a balanced group. So the AISC main spec is 360. That's been around now for over 100 years. The seismic provisions, or AISC 341, which are adopted by AISC 360. And then I mentioned the nuclear spec, A690. We're about to publish the next edition of that later this year to keep that updated and consistent with the other specs. And then I mentioned the seismic evaluation spec 342-22. We won't be talking about either of the last two today. So I mentioned the 12 task committees under the Committee on Specifications. The coordination committee is a group that are the chairs of the other 11 task committees and myself. So that's really to coordinate between all of the different activities that are going on. Task 2 you can see is the editorial committee, and then also trying to make sure that we're following some of the rules of the mission statement on economy, efficiency, practical use. Loads and analysis stability for TC3, member design. TC4, 5 is composite. 6, connections. 7, evaluation and repair. 8 is fire. 9, seismic. 10 is on materials, fabrication, erection topics. 11 is the nuclear group, and then 12 is quality assurance. And basically, on all of our standards, one of those TCs is responsible for each of the provisions in all the standards. So there's for example, in the seismic spec in 341, TC9 has a lot of the sections that are under their supervision.